I'm Paul Wilkinson and I'm filming from Kathmandu. I've been making a documentary series about Himalayan shamanism for the last 5.5 years, travelling all over the Himalayas and filming with lots of different shamanic groups. And today I'm giving a brief introduction to the way in which the shaman use various animal parts in their ritual objects. So this is a shamanic crown, and I'll just model it. So you can see you've got porcupine quills around the front and rudraska and a goat's horn on the top. It's been hand woven with a sort of very rough jute, and it's got a little bit of Tibetan silk here. So the porcupine quills are like a protective element, and you've got chicken feathers, wild chicken feathers here. The remains of much longer feathers. Oh no, they're porcupine quills as well. So you often have other objects as well which are tucked in here. There's a yak tail stitched onto the back, and porcupine quills are often used like a sort of guardian and also like magic arrows. So one of the things they'll do is they'll do special mantras to send this to destroy something or to collect information. So they might they use, for instance, the hallucinogenic wild honey from the mountains, and they'll dip that in the wild honey and they'll send that both to draw out the truth of a situation or to kill something, even to kill a person if they're wanting to do that type of thing. But usually they're working in a very beneficent way, and the quality of the honey is to bring out the truth and to connect with the quality of the land. So when I've meditated, for instance, with small amounts of honey collected in the mountains, I sometimes have visions of the land, almost like a bee's eye view, moving over the landscape. And I've actually been in situations where I've eaten honey from specific places and then recognized those places afterwards. So you have a lot of interesting things. So this is a hornbill skull, and this has probably come from the Terai, maybe from the mountains of West Nepal. And then these are representations of hornbill, and they're used as altarpieces to represent Garuda, and they represent spiritual travelling. So again, the shaman will sometimes use this a little bit like they'll use a Ferber, like a magic dagger, but they'll also use it as a way of concentrating their energy when they're travelling from one realm to another realm, particularly going from the lower realm to the upper realm, or where they're retrieving information, or maybe where they're doing something like a soul retrieval. So someone who's experienced a lot of trauma or stress, or maybe someone who's recovering from something like alcoholism, where the alcohol has damaged the internal organs. They say that the souls leave the organs and leave the different parts of the body, and the shaman will go and retrieve that disturbed element of the person and bring it back, and then negotiate a reintegration. So these are from the Naga people, and you can see with this big one, it's very unusual in that it's got a third eye on the top of the beak. So that really tells you something about the way it's being used. It's seen as a sort of interdimensional travelling vehicle. So the shaman work a lot with the idea of being true to the quality of the materials. So this is a very long Naga Mala. This is a much smaller normal size. Naga Mala is a snake skeleton that's been kept in the sequence of the original bones, and they'll the shaman aren't allowed to kill the animals. So they're either animals that have been found, or maybe someone else has killed and then brought them to the shaman. But this would have been from a king cobra. It's very, very long. It's maybe 3 meters long, you know. And they use these for cleansing and for protection. So the Nagas are the snake gods that live in the earth and are associated with waterways and purity and the chakras. And they'll use it to cleanse the etheric body. Sometimes they'll even whip over if there's someone who needs to disturb the energy, and they use them like this, sometimes a bit harder than that, to draw out the negative energy, and then they'll clean off like this. They use them as a sort of protector. So the shaman have this idea, which is very similar to the idea in contemporary art, of being true to your materials. So the quality of the materials, the quality of a particular animal or a particular wood or a particular stone or crystal, has the essence of that animal in it, or that being in it. So here's an example. This is a trumpet. These are also used by they're also used by the Tibetan Buddhists and by the Bon and the tantric tradition, but they're blown like this, and they make a sort of I can't really blow these. I've never mastered that, but this is from a human arm bone, and it would have been probably a very senior shaman, and this is a leg bone. So this is both from the shamanic traditions, both very old. This is a smaller bone from a forearm as well. So you've got or from maybe a much smaller person, maybe a woman, or because you get women shaman as well. So again, you've got the quality of the person living on in their physical objects. That you get skulls as well, which are used sometimes to give offerings in, sometimes offerings of blood or milk or flowers, and the quality of the being is still in the sort of vibrational resonance of that person. So here's this has got a lovely story behind it. This is a piece of deer skin. I've forgotten the name of the type of deer, but from very high up in the mountains. And a Tamang shaman gave me this, and he said to keep it under my pillow to aid sleep and to bring dreams that connect me to nature. Well, when I opened it up, it was absolutely crawling with insects. So I kept it for a while on my fireplace above the fire, and the insects nicely left. And sometimes I'll connect with it like that. But deer again are very sacred to the shaman. They often use deer skins for the drums, and they'll use a male animal and a female animal for the different sides of the skins. Increasingly they're using goat skin, but in the past it was usually deer skin, and sometimes the animals from bears and other sorts of animals, depending on the energy they wanted for the drum. So these, I'm told, are rib cage. Probably human. I'm not convinced about that. This has come from Nagaland, which used to be part of Nepal. It's from an area that were headhunters before. They're shamanic pieces depicting people on the back, and a sun wheel. I'm not sure what this is about. I found very abstract designs and then rubbed in with soot on the outside. But these are, this is like that's probably like a crocodile. I can see the eyes here and the long nose, so it's almost certainly a crocodile. So they're using the quality of the materials to represent something and to hold the energy for their ritual use. So this is a couple of deer feet. Someone who I bought some Ferbers from actually gave me these. It's difficult to bring things like this to export things like this because of animal protection. But when I find ritual objects that are old and which are part of a kit, I still acquire them because these might be hundreds of years old. You can see actually the age of it by the amount that it's changed colour. So these were used drumming. They were. So you've got the hooves of the feet of a deer. Very delicate, quite a strange object. They have a very nice feeling about them, actually very soft and gentle. So this is a type of antelope swarm which the Tamang shaman often wear in the back like this as a protector, and they're also sometimes used as Ferber. You see this one is the same type of antelope, but it's been worn out over many hundreds of years. It's got a silver top on it and a little garuda on a metal chain, and this one has the metal chain but no amulet on it. So this is used as a protective element and also for destroying negative energy, for warding off attack, and if you feel like you're under attack, they'll sometimes place this at the foot of the bed. And you can see again 2 deer horns attached to a little bit of skull still. So these are all bits of animal part that I've found in various shamanic kits. So I'm working with various people, and often when a shaman dies, the objects get passed on. Sometimes they go down through a family for many generations. Sometimes the shaman no longer has children that are going to be shaman, and so then the things get onto the market. Here's an example of 3 shamanic knives. So it's got a forged iron blade with a double tip here, and a deer horn handle. Another blade with a little bit of Nepali writing in it, with another deer horn handle. This is another one with a Tibetan style sheath. So you can see this has a sort of symbolic aspect as well. So when it's like this, the handle might be seen as the softer element, and they'll use both elements. They'll use a little bit like with a Ferber, where the bladed end becomes the masculine end, and the head top with the gods as the feminine end, or the yin and yang end. So they'll often use one end for piercing and cutting and penetrating, and the other end for healing and for sealing up and for mending. So this this is a very rare Ferber made out of very hard deer horn with a guru figure on the top. Sometimes you get these very intricately carved because you can carve amazingly in deer horn. So the quality of the materials is very important for the shaman, and it's part of their whole essence of being. So this isn't an animal part, but it gives you the idea that, so this is a medicine cup, and used for mixing medicine and for drinking medicine. But this is made out of shaga mushroom, you know, the sort of big plate-like mushrooms that you get growing on the outside of a tree, that's very good for all sorts of healing properties. So it's a little cup made out of that the shaman will dispense the herbal medicines in, using that. So you can see there's a great range of materials. They use all sorts of feathers, teeth and claws, and all sorts of things, tails and skins of things, to everything for the primal power of that particular animal. So thank you very much. I hope you found that enjoyable and interesting. If you have any requests for information about any other sorts of ritual objects or some things you'd like me to speak about and to cover, do get in touch. I'm uploading a number of informational videos to my YouTube channel, so please subscribe and let me know how you're enjoying things. Thank you very much.